My name is Tarmack, and this is your game industry news wrap-up for the week of December 2nd, 2017. Our title story this week comes from the world of Pokemon. While not yet peer-reviewed, a study conducted by Purdue University regarding traffic accidents in Indiana suggests that there is a 26.5% greater chance of collisions at intersections within 100 meters of a Pokestop. The overall result would be an increase of almost 145,000 crashes, 29,000 injuries, and 250 additional deaths, assuming all of this is related as the data suggests. It cannot be stated with certainty that Pokemon Go caused all of this. However, the increase in traffic collisions near Pokestops is certainly significant, covering the 5 months after the release of the game. I wonder if the recent news surrounding the upcoming Niantic Harry Potter game will be linked to an increase in the number of muggings of Muggles. A 14-year-old idiot is being sued by Epic Games under the Digital Millennium Copyright Act. The teenager uploaded a cheat video demonstrating hacks in Fortnite, which resulted in a DMCA takedown notice from Epic. Normally, when receiving a DMCA takedown, it's best to be sure you have the right of way when appealing, as I've had to deal with on the odd occasion relating to fair use. But making a video describing how to hack a game seems unlikely at best to be given a fair use exemption. So, obviously, the teen decided to follow common internet logic and appeal all DMCA notices regardless of whether what he did was right. Unfortunately, this essentially left Epic with no alternative, as had they accepted the appeal, future DMCA takedowns for the same reason would be made questionable from a legal standpoint, and their only option was to file a lawsuit against him. If the poor little sod had just taken his lumps and left the video offline instead of appealing, none of this would have happened. And yet, Epic is facing heat over taking a poor little 14-year-old kid to court over a video game video. Most likely because Kotaku decided to make sure to mention in the title of their article that he was 14 and his mom is defending him. Clickbait bollocks, not good reporting. Tomb Raider 2013 has apparently moved 11 million units since launch, which stands at stark contrast to the disappointment Square Enix shared publicly regarding poor performance of the title. The Square president, who shall go nameless due to pronunciation skills of yours truly, in speaking with GamesIndustry.biz said that the Tomb Raider IP is one of their most important intellectual properties. The game had shifted only 3.5 million units in its first month, and to date had moved roughly half of those 11 million units on PC specifically, which is great to see. With any luck, Square will be able to adjust their expectations in future because frankly, they seem disappointed more often than not. And if having 11 million of anything is disappointing, I'd like a share of that, please. For those interested further in legal-related matters, the lawsuit between Imagos and Alex Maurer has been resolved. To give a quick summary, Maurer began filing DMCA takedown notices involving work she did for Imagos making music as a contractor, which Maurer claims was not sufficiently paid for. Instead of filing a claim against Imagos for unpaid amounts initially, as is standard business when you're a contractor, Maurer went after any source she could find online that had featured any of the music she created, including some sources who were merely tangentially related just discussing the issue, and for some reason unknown to most, the Death Road to Canada trailer. Over 100 DMCA takedown notices were filed, putting YouTuber channels into a state of limbo, essentially. The case has been dismissed by the Eastern District Court of Pennsylvania with prejudice, which bars Maurer from this claim in future. On the plus side, all of the content creators who uploaded content relating to Maurer's work on vid.me will be able to rest safe in their content being available for viewers, at least until VidMe shuts down on December 15th. For those interested, the music playing during this section was written by Alex Maurer and is owned by Imagos, per the contractor agreement both signed. Off color? Perhaps. High-Rez, a company known for ethics and great design, as any Tribes Ascend player will attest, is going down the Battlefront 2 rabbit hole. Paladins is getting a shiny new system introduced through a recent open beta patch called Cards Unbound. Players get level 1 cards for free, and cards can level up. Those level ups are handled through chests when you receive duplicates of cards that you have, which add to the power level of those existing cards. The cards directly affect gameplay, and higher level cards, of course, put those players who hold them at a competitive advantage. While the ranked mode is being designed in such a way as to avoid this pay-to-win advantage condition, the rest of the game is subject to it, and despite High-Rez turning off real money purchases temporarily while the system is balanced, it's not hard to see the parallels here. And of course, because of course, it's all random loot box nonsense, no longer allowing players to craft upgrades to heroes that they like. But at least it's not as bad as UFC 3, which gives players the ability to get unlocks to basic things like a simple punch in the game through loot boxes, which mirrors the genre perfectly. You can always inject a little success by spending some money in prize fighting. To date, I've done a reasonably good job of maintaining my personal embargo against Star Citizen. It started a few years ago because of the constant onslaught of non-stories coming out of Robert Space Industries. There was always a new shiny ship being sold for immense amounts of money, or big announcements about how much money they'd raised while shifting the goalposts every other week. Well, this one pisses me off. You can now, for the low price of $50 or $100 US, buy plots of land in Star Citizen. Those plots of land come in 4 km square or 8 km square sizes, depending on how much extra money you have that you hopefully don't need laying around. You fill the plots of land with a service outpost, which is basically your own little settlement. You're supposed to be able to build anywhere in the world, but these land claim leases are immune from being taken over or damaged by other players. So I guess it's more like a protection fee. Utterly cynical, greedy abuse of a customer base to sell empty plots of land for an unfinished settlement system in an unfinished game with no realistic launch in sight, under the pretense that the $171 million raised so far wasn't good enough. I'm thinking that maybe the best bet would be an internet petition to Wikipedia to add the RSI logo to the feature creep page. And with that, I recommence my personal embargo. Or how about this? I'll talk about Star Citizen again once Cyberpunk 2077 is released. That should give Roberts some time to successfully hit at least one milestone. And our good news game story of the week comes from the game industry on the whole. Newzoo, a market research group, has released updated expectations for market growth in the video game industry. According to Newzoo, the game industry will break past $116 billion in revenue, which is $7.1 billion higher than their previous estimates. A good chunk of this increase is in mobile gaming and large increases in China and Japan, but also related in many ways to the growing esports market. Essentially, the game industry is doing really well and beating expectations. So it's a good thing we know that games are not too expensive to make. Your game releases for the week of December 3rd to 9th are as follows. Showing that Nintendo both has an eye out for indies and also isn't afraid of blood and heavy metal, Slain Back from Hell releases on the Switch December 7th. Slain is a side-scrolling game with melee and magic combat, a heavy-as-hell soundtrack, and according to the devs, no wimpy crafting. It's great to see some less than cartoony titles making it to the Switch, and the more that this happens, the more I want one. Also on the Switch, and also on December 7th, one of my most memorable games of the year, the Sexy Brutale, will be released. The entirety of the Sexy Brutale takes place in a single day, but you can rewind time in order to make changes to the giant macabre mansion in order to influence events, and save the guests from dying in horrific ways. It is absolutely worth buying, and if you haven't played it yet, I suspect that the Switch will be as good a place as any to play it. The most notable release this week is the full launch of TinyBuild's Hello Neighbor. Your job is to break into your neighbor's house, sneaking around and avoiding him at all costs in order to reveal the secrets of the ramshackle old place. Unfortunately for many players, the game boasts an advanced AI, which learns how to thwart your playstyle and becomes far more difficult the more you play it, which is pretty neat. Hello Neighbor will be out on PC, PS4, and Xbox One on December 8th. This has been your Game Industry News Wrap-Up for the week of December 2nd, 2017. I recorded the Gnomecast stream with Sid Alpha, Wells Knight, and DC Dungeon Master from Saturday, and it'll be put up on the channel here on the 5th for your viewing enjoyment. It's always a blast to do, despite how much work it is to run, so I hope you like it. And I should call out the patrons who support me, which is where I get at least one guest to appear on each of the podcasts. You gals and guys are awesome. My name's Tarmack. Thanks for watching.